Hello, hello? Hello, hello, hello. All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the OpenClaw. Whoa, there we go. All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the OpenClaw NYC event. I'm so glad you could join us tonight. This is the first event of this series. Obviously, there's a lot of OpenClaw events here. There's actually like more even like tonight that are happening. But this is the first one that we're doing, and we hope you enjoy. We hope that you come back for more. I'll tell you a little bit about the venue, the building that we're in. So we're in a studio called ZeroSpace. ZeroSpace is a production creative studio. We do a lot of film and TV. We started by doing virtual production. What is virtual production? It's when you shoot movies and instead of green screen, you have this big wall and you put 3D environments on that wall. So through the camera, it looks like you're somewhere else, you know, and that's why we have such an amazing screen for our presentations tonight. We also do things like motion capture and game development and 3D animation. And over the past 8 months, we've just been using AI more and more. So we've been doing these community events. First is around open source creative AI, you know, things like Comfy UI, which is a model for generating images, but you know, because of the OpenClaw sort of personal AI revolution, we've also been really interested in that and wanted to put on this event for the community to try to see what people are building, encourage people to share and learn from each other. And we have a really great lineup tonight. We have a ton of great speakers, as well as our sponsors. And yeah, we're very excited for the show. I'm gonna do a quick like housekeeping. So, you know, we have free pizza and beer and drinks in the back there. Our restrooms are all the way in the back of the studio. If you go all the way to the back and take a left. And the Wi-Fi info is pasted around on some cards, but the network is called ZS OpenClaw, and the password is Red Lobster 99 with a capital R, capital L. I wanted to quickly shout out the sponsors for tonight's event, who are super generous and help make this possible, help make this event free and open to the public. And yeah, so I'm gonna give a quick shout out to Zo Computer, OpenClaw, ZeroSpace the venue, 4Wall for the gear, Brooklyn Brewery, and they'll also come up and have their presentations. And Zo has a booth in the back corner of the studio, so if you have any questions about their product, you can go speak to them. We're gonna start with a presentation. Well, it's more of like an interactive walkthrough of someone setting up OpenClaw from scratch in 20 minutes. So it's a bit of a speed run. And then we're going to do a presentation from Zo Computer. And then we're going to do a presentation from Roman Giorgio, who's going to be talking about using OpenClaw for marketing. Our third and final presentation will be from Adwait, the founder of OpenClaw. And then we'll have a little bit of time for people to network and chat before we wrap up. Yeah, I think that's it. And then I'll give a quick intro to, well, I'll let you introduce yourself, Omar.
Yeah. Fine. Thank you, Shuilong. That was Shuilong, please. Yeah, give a hand out. I'm gonna put this mic over here so I can sit and chat with you guys. First of all, thank you so much for coming out. I know it's a really beautiful day outside and it's hard to get your asses in here in a small, like, non-outdoor space. But thank you so much for coming out. My first presentation, I'm gonna be going through, I don't know if you could put it up on the screen now, but I'll be going through how to set up OpenClaw on a VPS. I see some people here have laptops. Are you guys gonna follow through, or are you just for notes or something? Anybody following through? All right, well, you could have. If you have a VPS, then you couldn't follow along. I have my own Windows set up right now. The reason is because it's a little harder. It's a little harder to set it up with Windows for people who aren't tech savvy. So this is a fresh laptop. There is nothing installed. So I want to go over pretty much everything from start to finish. So Windows, the newest version of Windows, comes with something called SSH already installed. But I'm going to download PuTTY because the older versions of Windows required this. And plus, I know how to use PuTTY fairly well because I come from older Windows. So I'm going to just start it off. And at any point, if I stop talking and you have a question, just raise your hand, and Srilong will come through with the mic and now. Let's see. All right, so this is the app, PuTTY. This will help you connect to your VPS using SSH. Now, what you need is an IP address. Now, I have my VPS set up very insecurely so that I can go over the security with you. So this is actually one thing I should have done before. I forgot to turn my VPS on. I'm about to turn it on right now. Hold on. The reason I turned it off is because it's so insecure. I wouldn't want that VPS to be on while, you know, the open world has access to it. So that's one of the things that I saw a lot of questions because on the sign up, I had a little section where you could ask a question. A lot of the questions were geared towards how to set up OpenClaw securely. Now, this is just one step in setting it up securely on the VPS. I'm going to go over some other steps. By no means is my setup that I'm showing you going to be 100% secure. There is just no way to make things 100% secure, or at least I don't feel comfortable saying that to you guys. So, okay. All right, you'll be able to see everything I'm doing, including my passwords. Why? Because I don't care. All right, the IP address, I have it written down. Let's hope this works. Like I said, I'm doing this live. I did one run through 2 nights ago. All right, so it's working. Right now over here, me personally, I always just do connect once because I'm just paranoid. But you can go ahead and accept. It just saves the fact that you logged into this computer before. So I had this set up, from what I remember, my username was Psyduck with a Z. I don't know, something I was thinking about. I'm not even a Pokemon fan, I don't know why I did that. And my password was ASDF twice. Anyone here can log in. Which I guess that's not my password. Or maybe it was 3 times, I don't even remember. There we go. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is change my password so you guys can't hack my system, right? This is on live streaming, so I bet you there's someone on the internet that's gonna try it. So I just changed my oops, that was my current password, sorry. I'll do this again. All right, so you guys don't know what I changed it to, but I promise it's not the same. Now I'm gonna log into the root. It's the same password. I'm gonna change it now too. All right. Now if I forget this password, I'm never logging into this VPS again because it's pretty broken. It would be broken. The first thing I wanna do, the first thing anybody wants to do when you set up a VPS, all right, is you have to disable root login, all right? I'm gonna show you how to do that.
Sure. What is the
Okay, a VPS stands for a virtual private server. And you could get one from any service provider, like DigitalOcean is one. Namecheap even sells it. Even Amazon sells them too. But if someone wants one, I think DigitalOcean has a really good deal. They didn't sponsor me. I have no idea what their prices are. I just heard that they have a good deal on it.
Can you explain what a virtual private server is?
Basically, it's a computer on the cloud. It's a computer that is, it's called virtual because it's not an actual physical computer. It's imagine a computer that's housing a small computer inside of it, all via software. So that's what a virtual machine is, and a virtual private server is. As you can see, this is private because like nobody else has access to it, and it's a server. It's set up so that it's not on your computer; it's on the internet. So those things are called servers because it serves you basically. It's on the internet. It's not that private, but it's yours, meaning that you're the one that has the access to it. Also, these terms were made a long time ago, before there were so many security issues. All right, so now I'm on the config setting. First thing I like to do is change the port. 5689. I'm going to change the port to 5689, and then I'm going to look for this thing called permit root login, right? This is already X'd out, so that's good. So I changed the port. Curl. I don't know what curl stands for, but it allows you to access websites. For example, I'll go curl www.google.com. This is what you get back from Google. So curl is a very fast way to do that. So now that I've installed curl, I'm going to go curl. Wait, let me clear this so you guys see it. Curl, what's this here? I'm writing all this out because I don't have it saved on this computer. Normally, I would just look for it online, but I feel like it's a lot faster if I just type it out. Oh, actually, I don't think I installed sudo, but whatever. You know what? Hold on. I have to install something else first. Sorry about that. Let me install a whole bunch of other things that will help. Install sudo, git, wget, ufw, fail to ban. All these things are generally things you want to install whenever you set up a system. And I forgot that I hadn't installed it because, again, this is a fresh VPS. All right, while it's installing this, I'll go back to here. So here is well, we already generated a key. We want to save the public key. We could save it. I'm going to save it to the desktop. All right. Export to OpenSSH key. Yeah. And I'm going to save this as ID RSA. We'll come back to this later. I just wanted to make maximum use of my time. I know it might be a little confusing. All right, so now that we have that, now let me just copy what I was originally going to write. All right. Sudo is a command that allows you to, it stands for super user do. So you do things as the super user. Now what this is doing is downloading a script. It's very unsafe unless you know who you're downloading it from. I'm downloading it from the official Node website, so I'm fairly confident that they're not going to try to hack my system. So now, after I did that, I'm going to install Node.js again. Okay, now let's try to look at the version. And now you notice the version is 24 now. That's the version required for OpenClaw. All right? So that's the version OpenClaw needs. And now we go to installing OpenClaw. This is the command, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that's the command. And this is gonna take a little bit of time. So if anybody has any questions up until now, yeah, go ahead.
I was wondering about the trade-offs between virtual private servers and running it on your own computer.
The trade-offs between, yeah, so the reason I did it on a virtual private server is because I don't have a random computer just lying around to use. I don't want to use my own home machine because that's very insecure. And why is that insecure? Because OpenClaw has access to your entire computer, everything. Like it could do whatever you can on the computer. And obviously that makes it really, really insecure, like, because it's an AI and you're accessing the like frontier model AIs. So anything that's on your computer, if it decides to take whatever's on your computer and send it up to the cloud, it'll just do it. It'll do it in a blink of an eye before you could even say stop. There was like this this tweet like a month ago where like an employee of Facebook gave OpenClaw access to her email. I don't know if you guys saw it, but randomly OpenClaw decided, you know what? I don't need these emails, and it just started deleting everything. Did anybody see that tweet? Yeah. I don't know how true it is. It might just be drama, you know, like there's a lot of, you know, everything is a soap opera these days. But but if it did happen, like that shows you how insecure it could be. And that's why I want to set it up on a virtual private server. You could have a VPS inside your computer too. But I just set it up on the internet because everybody has access to that. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Anybody else? All right. Well, while this is installing, this is going to take a while, like I said. Let's go back to the PuttyGen. Now, why am I doing this? The reason why I'm doing this is because, see, this is my private key, this ID RSA. I'm going to show you. I'm going to open this up with Notepad. Again, this is a brand new machine, so I have no idea where Notepad is even. Like, I haven't installed anything. I don't even know if Notepad is a computer, and you'll see that we can now use this as a password to access the VPS. This is a special folder called .ssh. It's the same on Windows as it is on Linux, on a Mac. It's all the same. So I moved that there. Later on, we'll go through it. Let's go see if it's installed. Oh, it's still installed. All right, so I'll show you how it works then. Let's see how this works. Windows PowerShell. Actually, all right, so this is installed for now. I'm sorry I'm jumping back and forth, but I don't have a lot of time. And I have to tell you guys this or the world will explode. All right. Let's see, all right. A couple more things I'm gonna install. Keyring, Debian, archive keyring. This is all so we can help secure up OpenClaw so that only you can access it. No, it won't be open to the internet. And then I like to install Screen. Screen is an app on Linux computers that allows you to open up a window. So for example, if I go Screen, this is a brand new window, right? So let me give you an example. I'll write something here, test, 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 and I'll press Control A, D, and I'm detached from that screen, and no matter what happens, I could close this. Actually, I should close it. All right, now I'm gonna log back in and I'll show you. I forgot the IP address, hold on. 192.3.2.139. I forgot the port, hold on. 192.3.2.139. Pretty sure, there we go, all right. All right, I remembered the password, that's a good sign. For a second, I was nervous that I forgot the password, and then this whole demo would be over. Okay, so now if I go back to Screen and I reattach, Screen, reattach, you see it's all still there. The session is still there. So that's why I like installing Screen, because I don't know if I'm over here. Yeah, so as you can see, I'm always on a VPN, always. Like it doesn't matter what country I'm in, I'm always on a VPN, all right? So a lot of times VPNs just disconnect randomly. So if they were to disconnect, if my VPN was to disconnect me in the middle of when I was doing something, Screen will at least continue to do whatever it is that I was doing on the server. My disconnect won't matter. So, all right, so now let's get out of here. Let's get out of here. All right, I was gonna show you how to connect. So now I make a directory called .ssh, I go to .ssh, and then I have a file called authorized keys. Now why doesn't it do this automatically? I have no idea, honestly. I think it's to keep people like me employed. But let me go back to PuttyGen. See this key right here? I'm just gonna copy this. I'm gonna paste it here. Exit out, save, and now I should be, I don't know, but I should be able to log in to this VPS if I did everything right, which I probably didn't, but we'll see. I should be able to log in to this VPS without having to type my password. Let me see my IP address again. 192. It's a very easy one to remember. I don't know why I don't remember it, but probably because whenever something goes live, right? Like it's always something always goes wrong. 5689. All right. Let's see. Oh, sorry. All right. Ta-da, I logged in without putting my password. Thank you for the applause. It's really not necessary. I thought I did something wrong. Anyway, that's why you want to have these keys. And now you can actually disable the password altogether and it won't matter because you can always log in. Why do we need this? I want to show you why we need this later on. Now that OpenClaw is installed, hold on, let me go back to the root because that's where we're installing OpenClaw on. OpenClaw, I think it's called Start. And it should onboard you now. I was wrong. It's called OpenClaw Onboard. I hope. Oh, there we go, okay. So, yeah, this is just a disclaimer. I understand this. Basically what this all says is security warning, OpenClaw is very insecure, try at your own risk, you're gonna lose. That's basically what it says. I'm gonna do quick start just to show you guys. All right, so this is the model provider, right? As you guys know, Anthropic doesn't work, all right? They still have it here because it allows you to use the API, but Anthropic, using the CLI tool that everybody was doing before, it doesn't work. I'm going to use, with you guys, I'm going to use OpenRouter. I don't remember my API key. I'm gonna log in real quick to OpenRouter. Let me see what my password is. So for password management, I use something called KeyPass that is also very secure because all the passwords are encrypted in your own system. So it's, you never upload them. It's not like Final Pass or whatever these other services are. So I have it on my phone. I have it on this computer too, but I'm just not gonna show you guys because then my password will be on Livestream. So I'm gonna log in real quick. Any questions in the meantime? No? Oh yes, OpenRouter provides you API keys. Actually, that's a good question. OpenRouter provides you API keys to use a whole slew of AI models. It's way better than signing up as an API service. I mean, I wish OpenRouter was sponsoring me right now because I am really talking them up. I used to have a Google account. Well, I still do, but they give you $300 to sign up. Google does. It gives you $300 on the API to sign up. And they rip me off. And I know that because of OpenRouter. I'm gonna show you in a second, actually. Let me log in real quick. This is one of my emails. You can save it if you want, doesn't matter. And now I have to do this verification, which, by the way, I hate these. Okay, all right, so you have a whole bunch of API keys on your OpenRouter, all right? And I'm gonna show you why. I have a bot. I used the bot with the Google API, and it was charging me, Google was charging me $2 a day. I'm running the same bot, same exact bot with OpenRouter, and I'm using the same exact Google's API. I'm using the same exact models, and it's charging me, it's been a week running, and it's charged me $3 already. Google was charging me $2 a day, OpenRouter is charging me $3.69. It's supposed to be the same exact price. So that's how I know Google is just not reporting it correctly. I'm gonna make a new API key for the demo. Whatever, credit limit, we'll put the credit limit to $3 in case somebody copies the API key. All right, hopefully they won't. All right, so that's our demo API. Let's go back. All right. Like I said, you guys can see the API key. I'm gonna delete all this. I hope I remember to delete everything. Someone's gonna charge me up the wall. All right, so, yeah, all right, so now it's here. Let's see, keep current. So now I like GLM. It's very fast and it's cheap. So I'm gonna scroll down until I find it. It's probably going to be one of the last ones because it's by ZAI. So I'm just going to scroll down until I find it. There we go. Oh, okay. GLM 5.1, it's a very capable model. It's, excuse me, it's a little bit slow, but it's pretty much just as smart as Opus, Claude Opus. All right. This is if you want to set up Telegram or Discord. I'm not going to do that right now because we're going to be strapped for time. But at a future event, if somebody wants to see it, I'll show them how to do it. All right. See, this is why I usually like to have screen. I don't know what just happened, but I'm going to try it again. OpenClaw onboard. So it just kind of errored out. That's the nature of OpenClaw. OpenClaw will break, will error out, and so I just have to do this whole thing over again. But hopefully I might not have to re-input my keys because hopefully it saved it. We'll see what happens. It doesn't look like it did, so. It might be because I chose GLM. Who knows? Sometimes GLM is down. So I'm just going to choose a different one. I'm going to choose Kimi Claw. I mean, Kimi K 2.5. Or I could use Minimax also. Yeah, well, let's use Minimax just so you can see. Just to get things rolling. Okay, I'm going to skip this. Like I said, I'm not going to set up Telegram or Slack or anything.
Hey, Omar, there's a bug.
Pardon? Is the bug in the what? In this version, and that's why it's not doing it right? That's crazy. Well, so I should download a prior version. I don't think I'll have time to do that now. But all right, well, at least you guys know all the steps to install it. It was working literally 2 nights ago when I tested it. So I guess they must have added a new bug. This is the nature of open source OpenClaw. I don't know why they did that. Pardon?
No, it's just about the channel.
Skipping it, like what it said.
Okay, all right.
Terminal work though?
I could try it, but it didn't. I don't think it saved the key. But let's try it. I'll try it. Yeah. We'll try one more time. If it doesn't work, I'll let the next presenter present, and I apologize. There's something called OpenClaw Doctor. Sometimes that might fix things. Well, what are the odds of that, right? they introduce a bug right before my event. Generate and configure gateway token, yes, sure. Enable bash, sure. You don't have to do this during the setup. I'm just trying to do this to fix whatever is wrong. But generally speaking, you're not going to have to do what I'm doing right now. Looks like it's working. After you go through the onboarding on a version that works, you just have to do OpenClaw Gateway, and it should work. As of right now, it looks like it might be working. Actually, no, because it's saying that it's trying to default to OpenAI. I don't have OpenAI's keys, but I'll just go through this real quick to show you. So this one, once you get it working, I'm sorry, I can't show you the demo right now. But once you get it working, it's going to tell you to go here to access OpenClaw, and obviously we can't do that. But in order to do it, what you're going to want to do is go back to this terminal window like I was doing before. The whole reason I made it so that you can log in without a password was for this reason. I'm going to show you the command. Give me 1 second. There we go. NL18789. That is the default OpenClaw port. Now, what this command does is it opens up a tunnel from your computer to your VPS, and that allows you to access it without letting anybody else access it. This is only your computer can access it. That's what makes it secure. Like, a lot of OpenClaw instances are open to the web, to the public web. Oops, that was my bad. 5, 6, 8, 9. All right, so if it's working, you wait 5 seconds or so, and if nothing happens, that means it works. Like, that's just, like I said, they're not very user-friendly. So, because the setup wasn't complete, I can't show you the demo, but I at least got to the point where if you were able to complete the onboarding process, you would end up on this screen, you would put the token in, it would tell you the token, you would put the token in, and you would connect. But since there's a bug, I'm sorry, I can't show you guys the full setup. But again, if there's any questions, I'll be around afterwards. And if there's any questions right now, if anybody has any. Sure. I just picked a random number, yeah. Yeah, you could put whatever. Don't choose ports that are like the other services use, like port 80, port 8080, like those are used generally. But if you just choose a big number, like a random number is fine. Yep.
Because OpenClaw is so new, my experience has been that there have been a number of bugs introduced.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like being on a beta release of the OS or something.
Pretty much, yeah.
How do you think about how often to update? Do you try?
I never update. Okay. Once it's working, it's working. I'm never gonna update. Yeah, I updated once by accident, and it broke so many things. I'm like, I'm never updating it. Only update if you feel like there's a new feature that you want to use. I know as a computer security professional, I should not be advocating for this, but I am. With OpenClaw, I don't care what security features they say. Most of those security features will break your setup, because the way I have my OpenClaw set up, I don't want it to be so secure. I don't want it to ask me questions. I want it to just go ahead and do it. Most of the security features that they're introducing are just guardrails. The whole point of OpenClaw was so I can just set it up and forget it. It could just do stuff for me, and most of the new guardrails don't allow me to do stuff. It just keeps asking me, hey, you sure you want to do this? Hey, you sure you want to do this? Yes, if I wasn't sure, why would I tell you to do it? That's why I don't upgrade. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. Any other questions? I'm sorry I don't have the demo up. I had some ideas, but yeah, they got bored. Anybody? Yeah.
What do you think of Gemma
Gemma 4 is great, but not with OpenClaw. OpenClaw will not work with the dumber models, the older, dumber models, because the prompt injection used, and it's probably not good prompt engineering, again, because it's like a beta, really. So the prompt injections used, they use tokens like crazy. They use like millions and millions of tokens. And the older models, they get confused when you have so many. Yeah. But other than that, Gemma 4, I like it just to talk to. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, maybe we're talking about different models. Like Gemma 4 just came out.
Yeah, I know. Gemma 4, yeah.
And the 32 billion works pretty well for me, so
32 million?
billion.
No. Those are the parameters. So there's a context limit and the parameters. 32 billion parameters are how smart a model is or how many it got trained on. The context tokens are the ones that when you're talking, how much it can handle. So yeah. But yeah, for OpenClaw, I found that it didn't really work very well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If there's no more questions, I'm going to hand it off to the next presenter. Yeah. Yeah, sorry I couldn't get the whole thing to work. Oh, let me just put my LinkedIn up. This is, if anybody wants to contact me. I have a website, which I guess I'll talk about later. Yeah, I'll just talk about it afterwards at the end. All right. Yeah, I could pull up the LinkedIn itself. I think it's just NYC Omar. This is yeah, and NYC Omar is my LinkedIn.
As you can see, like, OpenClaw is being actively developed. There are random bugs and issues sometimes, and this is sort of like a from-scratch setup. You know, depending on the VPS provider you use, maybe if you're using DigitalOcean or AWS, some of the steps might already be done for you. For example, with private key, like, it might already show up and you can just download it and start using it right away once you set up the SSH.
Do you want this dongle?
No, I mean, but you already tested it with this, right?
Yeah.
But in general, I think that the takeaway is that we're all trying to figure this out, right? And there's a vibrant community, yourselves included, of people who are using OpenClaw, and there's also a Discord channel. People are generally helpful, and everybody is learning. So if some of this stuff that was covered today is a little bit intimidating, don't worry. There's tons of online resources, and you can always go up to Omar, hit him up on LinkedIn. Super friendly, and he's also the co-host of this event. So I just want to thank Omar as well for helping put this together and the speaker lineup together. But yeah, let me give a quick intro for our next speaker. So Rob Chung is a co-founder of ZoComputer, and ZoComputer is working on the future of personal computing. So even before OpenClaw, they were working on this idea of a personal agent. Let's give it up for Rob and for ZoComputer. Thank you.
Cool. Hi. Good to be here. Like he said, I'm Rob, one of the two co-founders at ZoComputer. And my talk today is everybody gets a software company. But before we start, if you scan this QR code and you're not on Zo or you haven't tried Zo, that lets you sign up and get $100 in free credits, which you can use for kind of any. We have all the major AI models, and you can use it to kind of build yourself some stuff. But and there's always a kind of like totally free plan that you can use forever. But yeah, my talk's called Everyone Gets a Software Company, and I think, you know, this is kind of a good way to think about how, or one way to think about how like using a computer is sort of going to like feel different in the future. I think, And particularly, I think this is an event for small businesses, and I think like that's a really good way to frame it, where it's like, obviously software companies have all of this kind of like technical competence today, but there are all these other aspects to a software company, like sort of like the function that does lead gen, or the function that does like data analytics, or even just like basic maintenance, and sort of like corresponding to customers. I think all of that stuff, which sounds like a crazy amount of sort of competence, I think is just going to sort of transition into our computing environments. And I think that has a lot of like downstream effects. And so before we get into it, I'm Rob, one of the co-founders, and this is Ben, my other co-founder. And just some background on us: we met the early team of Venmo in New York City way back in 2013, saw that kind of grow into a really beautiful thing. And then I was the founding engineer at Substack.com. Ben was very, very early at Stripe, worked there for about 10 years, saw it through a lot of different phases of that company. But yeah, today we're working on Zo, and one way to think about Zo is it's just the original OpenClaw. We've been working on it much longer, kind of way before Steinberger even sort of made his first commit, and he actually used Zo for a little bit before he even started that project. But at the same time, we're working on something very different. I think at least in the way we think about it, which is, the cool thing about OpenClaw is that it sort of recognized this idea that like the AIs are getting better at using the computers than us, and that's going to continue to be true. At some point, it's just going to be better than any human at using a computer. At the same time, a computer can do anything you can imagine. Software people know this, but the general public does not really have a good intuition for this. If you combine those two, that now AIs can basically manipulate computers better than anyone, and that computers can do anything. It's a very natural shape, I think, for how our relationship to computing evolves. And I think that has a lot of sort of important downstream effects. One of the more important questions to ask yourself, I think, once you come to that sort of recognition, is what is the best computer to run on? And I would posit, just to start, it's not a Mac Mini. But to really answer that question, I think you kind of look at the history of computing and all of its forms, and they're all of kind of different technological landscapes. And I think right now there's something about the current technological landscape that really motivates a big paradigmatic shift in terms of there's gonna be a new form of computing. And maybe to kind of dig a little bit deeper, this is a little bit of a digression, but I promise it'll get somewhere. I think you can think about the shift of kind of computing always as this kind of thing that starts in heavy industry, and then sort of as technology evolves, diffuses into consumer, and at some point it seems really crazy for that amount of computing, or sort of power or leverage, because computing is just leverage, to kind of be in the hands of an individual. I think in the 60s, these mainframes were huge $1 million rooms, and no one ever thought that a regular Joe would ever use this much computing. It'd just be absurd. And they mostly used it for ballistics or kind of cosmology or something. But in the 1980s, once everyone had personal computers, we really discovered in so many ways that there's a huge explosion of kind of use cases. I think the mainframe equivalent today, what we think of as that right now at Zo Computer, is cloud computing. Cloud computing, is just this sort of very abstract notion of a computer that big companies that across the spectrum, software companies, your bank, DoorDash, all of them use cloud computing, and they use it to great effect, and they use it for very specific reasons. Normal people have never had this thing. I think not because some of the attributes aren't useful to them. I think it's just because it's too complicated. And what AI really changes is that that is now kind of trivial. Now everyone like can have these things, and it kind of gets into this question of like, what is this thing? What is a cloud computer? It's not my laptop. It's not my phone. It's not even like this VPS that the previous speaker kind of showed you. It's this like thing that can have, you know, one CPU one moment, 100 CPUs another moment. It can copy itself 100 times, or sort of like, you know, I can't get a bunch of duplicates of my MacBook and sort of like do different things and then throw a bunch of them away. But you can with a cloud computer. You can kind of roll it back in history. You can attach a like mega GPU onto it for 20 minutes. And it's really just the best computing model we've ever conceived of. And by the way, it's like on the internet by default. So everything has a web address if you want by default. So it's a very powerful object, but kind of never been given to normal people. And I think that's what's changing. That's what we're building. And I think it has a lot of like changes for the future. I think like all of software and the internet will change. That's because we have this like thing that can really turn into anything. In the same way that like Google runs on servers. I think what it all nets out to is that a lot more of our digital lives are just going to be mediated between each other. Like me and my mom, or me and my friends, will sort of like more often just talk to each other's computers. And that's what it means to kind of like have a cloud computer. You can think of this as like rob.com or like, you know, alice.com. And not only do I talk to it with all of my personal data and sort of like my work needs, all of this stuff, my AI sort of interacts with it. It's got, you know, all of my history and data and my notes and et cetera. But my friends see a slice of it. My sort of like other AIs see a slice of it. My like tax accounting sees a slice of it. And that's all very abstract. So why don't we kind of like dive in and sort of like show you a demo of what this means. And then I'll also kind of like talk, since this is specifically for kind of like oriented towards small businesses, about some really cool use cases. So we are kind of like OpenClaw, but really made friendly. I think it's not made for developers. You know, what we just saw there with the setup, there is no setup in Zo. You just sign up for an account and like, you know, it's secure by default. You know, all of the networking is done for you. You don't really have to do any of this very abstruse stuff because it's not made for developers. It's made for, you know, my mom or like small business owners, et cetera. Again, scan the QR code if you want to get an account and get a bunch of free credits. But cool. So when you land on Zo, this is what you get. Everyone gets their own URL. So this is rob.zo.computer. Kind of looks like a chat. Kind of looks like ChatGPT. But this is like my entire computer. So it's just an interface. And if you've ever seen the OpenClaw interface, I think it's a lot nicer. We spend a lot of time on it. We really care about it. But if you dive a little bit deeper, you see like it's got a whole file system. This has, you know, just tons of data around my work and life now. And what's another cool thing to like call out is that it's like a computer on the internet. So you can just kind of like expose websites out of it. This is for non-computer people. This is like kind of strange, but we did it a lot in the 90s. Like in the 90s, if I had a blog, my blog was only up when my computer was on. And it's sort of like returning to this kind of pattern. But as you can see, I've got tons of like little sites that are either public or private on my thing. Here's an example. I do a lot of like just random like research projects on my Zo. And I have it, you know, compile a bunch of data and grab it from the internet and sort of help me make, you know, interactive charts or something like that. And it's a really great place to do research. A lot of people use it just sort of like either in academic settings or just to kind of like think through things. It's a really organized central hub for that. I also like I'm like really living the future. I think more and more people will have this, but I basically have every dimension of my life synced here all the time. So it's like decades of health data, every single like step I've taken, every single sort of like heartbeat, an hour of sleep. There's just tons of stuff. Every single DoorDash order I've ever done, every flight I've taken, everything I've posted to X, my entire genome. All throughout the day, I send, just sort of all my window events directly to my Zo, and so it has like a sense of how I spend my time on my computer. You can see like I'm in the browser, I'm in Zo, in iMessage, and so like this kind of pattern, just no one would ever do. It's always been possible, obviously, but it's never been feasible. And I think that's what's really changing with our relationship with computers. So this is just kind of, one set of examples. Your imagination can really go wild here. A lot of people use it for personal finances. And we've got a bunch of like built-in features. So again, unlike OpenClaw, it's all just set up for you. You can iMessage with your Zo. Like I just text my Zo all the time, and it's a text straight into your computer. So it knows all about your files and all about like the projects you're working on. Your business. We run a lot of our company off of my Zo in some sense. So it's just like a very powerful medium that you can customize to kind of whatever you need. And specifically for the businesses, we also have like a great Stripe integration. So I'll get into this a little bit with some of the examples. But specifically for small businesses, there's this one woman we love, and the space of Zo users right now is just incredible. It's all over the board, and these are just some small examples. But this woman runs a freediving small business, and what she does is she sells retreats. Each of the retreats are pretty expensive and with like a specific set of people, and she used to use Squarespace, Notion, Calendly, and ChatGPT, kind of cobble all this together. But what's interesting about this website is it's hosted directly on her Zo, and she has no CMS anymore. She just sort of texts her Zo like a new PDF of a new event, and then Zo under the hood, she's non-technical, by the way. Zo under the hood will make a bunch of database rows. It'll make Stripe products. It'll set it all up and then change her website. And so you can just text and sort of like kind of run the back office of your business like this in just like a way more ergonomic way. And it's really kind of like changed a lot of aspects of her, like how she runs her business. Like she has this like Calendly clone, which just directly books time on her calendar. And it really goes to show, like, if you describe anything to your computer, even if it doesn't have the integrations, you can do it. And especially Zo knows how to do it. So like there's no native way to kind of do some of these things, and Zo will figure out how to use the machine and do it. And yeah, let me see. Really kind of like, one of the keys for her is like everything is in one place. And that sounds like just very like boring, obvious like thing to sort of like say, but like a lot of these PDFs for her events, it's useful to have in the same place that she does her calendaring, or in the same place that she has like her Rolodex of customers, and it has like, for this retreat, she can just ask it to sort of like text everyone who's coming, or sort of like roll up into finances for last year or something. And it's just like very incredible that it kind of like spans all these different dimensions of running a business, versus I think previously she would have to kind of like go to Stripe to kind of like roll up her earnings, or then kind of go to Shopify or go to Meta to kind of like change her ads. And Zo sort of like automatically will kind of like test different ad strategies for her. And so it's just like a very cool like business playground for her. Another example is this woman out of Brooklyn runs this compression sock business. She uses it to kind of like do daily research on TikTok and Instagram and all these things to kind of like roll up, I guess, like market research. What are people posting? How well they're doing around compression socks? And that goes into, again, her automated kind of like marketing strategy, which has a little bit of money to kind of test different images and ad copies automatically and figure out which ones convert the best. But it really goes kind of like all over the map. I was talking to a restaurant owner who uses it. He noticed he he would previously every morning kind of wake up, check the weather, check the sports events, check like past kind of like business of his restaurant, all in order to get a sense of how to prepare for the day. And now he just has Zoe do that every single morning and then send him a sort of like nice little, summary of like, it's probably going to get pretty busy because there's a basketball game today, or it's raining, so it's like probably going to be slow. Just all this kind of like drudgery from every aspect of like running a small business, I think can kind of get cold now, and that's pretty exciting. Maybe last example is just like there are a lot of finance people on here doing all kinds of different trading strategies, either for like regular assets like stocks or kind of like more, I don't know, like new age stuff like prediction markets or crypto. And what's cool about being an always-on computer is just like it can always be listening for news events or signals, and sort of like whatever kind of trading strategy that you want to think of, it can kind of like respond and react to like the world as it happens. And it's like it's just a very different way to think about something than like a ChatGPT. Just ask it for a question and sort of like get a response back. But yeah, that's mostly my demo. I'm happy to answer some questions if people have it, and go from there. Yeah.
Hi. How, for example, the lady from my daughter, how does she know what to automate? An exploration that you go through to set these automations up?
Yeah, so we have some built-in automations. So you can say, every Monday, like do this or do that. But I think how she kind of goes around this is like she opens her website in Zoe, and she just sort of like talks to it through here. And Zoe knows a lot about just what computing sort of like technologies exist. And so we'll kind of like walk her through depending on how technical she is. So like, particularly like the PDF example, one day she just dragged in a PDF and she's like, can you put this new event on my website? And the first time I didn't really know how to do that. And then it was like, oh, I can download these tools or whatever to parse PDFs and then like figure it out. And then she was just like, yeah, do that. And then now she just has this like saved workflow to kind of like parse this and then make Stripe products and then sort of like update the website. And it's just a very cool kind of iterative way to test and then sort of then automate. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I use this a lot. I use Opus sometimes. Don't sleep on the Minimax. Minimax is free on Zoe, so use it all you want, and it's really great. But yeah, those are the main things I use. Yeah. Yeah, could you ask the question again? 'Cause I'm not quite sure I caught it.
Multiple people are using the same URL, your Zoe URL,
Yeah.
and it's updating in real time. Or I'm updating it in real time.
Yeah.
Access that same across multiple browsers.
Oh, it's pretty fast. Like it's the same computer, so all of these are kind of like subscribed in real time, and so like. Yeah, it's the same computer, so it'll see, even if the UI doesn't update, like the computer itself is sort of like always updated, so I don't know, I made this new. But yeah, it's synced instantly. Yeah. Yeah, so pricing is, or like how much people spend is all over the map. What I will say is that we've got 4 price tiers. This basically determines like how good your computer is. And so like this main tier is an incredibly powerful computer, like up to 0.5 terabyte of RAM, 64 physical cores. It's crazy. But as far as the AI, we see that all over the map. It's like some people spend $0 a month every month and still get a lot of value out of it, either with the free models or we give you a big subsidy for each of these plans already. Or, I mean, on the other end of the extreme, many, many thousands a month. Just like, there's just a lot of like serious kind of workloads that people care about, coding or things like that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so we started way before OpenClaw, and I think like, we started, I think, taking it a lot more seriously. And I think one advantage of being on the cloud is that you get the best security primitives or network primitives ever conceived of by like man. And so it's like, at least sort of like, with OpenClaw, you kind of have to watch out for exposing your port and kind of like getting your router hacked or something like that. It's just physically impossible with the sort of like, networking primitives that we have in industrial settings. And so like there's a whole class of problems that we just don't have at all, but we also professionally think about it a lot and try to like have ways, like all of these services are isolated from the internet by default or behind your own authorization, like authentication, so you have to be signed in. But only in like very special like circumstances, if you want to publish something, then we'll give you a nice public URL to that place, and then you can share it with your friends. Yeah.
So I have a side project that I would say is mostly running off of Drive, Notion, and OpenClaw. So if I were to move something over, would you suggest move a small thing over and try it out? Or would you say, like, just connect them and be like, hey, bring everything over and
That is interesting. It would be fun to try that. So another thing is a lot of people just tell their Zo to install OpenClaw, and Zo will happily install OpenClaw on your Zo, and it'll be just like the previous person's thing, and just set it up automatically without any setup. Between like a separate OpenClaw instance and your Zo, they're just computers, so they can talk to each other, and you can just sort of like negotiate. And I think that's like a great new pattern that has not really happened over the last 20 years, but should happen a lot more. It's just like two computers talking to each other and sharing stuff. So yeah, I think you should try it. There's kind of like a way you could tell your Zo to open up a way to get information from your OpenClaw, and then yeah, I think it'd be a great idea. Yeah.
I did that. With my OpenClaw,
Oh, cool.
I give information to the Zo, and I had a whole bunch of information on my OpenClaw about like my projects, and I said, hey, find out what the API is, and give Zo all the information of my project, and tell us to make a landing page and made a landing page.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm curious though, like, why Gucci though? Can't you just use Zo for the same purposes as OpenClaw?
Yeah, I don't see why anyone should use OpenClaw on their Zo. You can. We like to be kind of like harness agnostic. Like a lot of people run Claude Code inside of their Zo, but we have basically all the features in a more first-class way that I think are just sort of better. But yeah. Well, we're just a sort of software company, so I think we came up with this idea, a long time ago, and sort of like went down the very hard. It's very much a systems problem. So sometimes we say it's like AWS for my mom, and so like. Yeah, it's just a really deep kind of like systems problem. So we use a lot of technologies and sort of like that map all the way down to physical machines somewhere. Yeah.
One of the main things that I like, by the way, yeah, definitely much better than OpenClaw. In terms of interface and the experience, I've been wrangling it for the last few months. I've been trying to build what you guys build, basically, myself.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a similar concept. We call them personas. You can set up as many as you want. You can even have your Zo create a bunch. So a bunch of different users. Some people have like a whole Greek mythology set of personas, etc. But yeah, we have a very similar concept. But what's actually very interesting about us, because our primitive is a cloud computer, is that these can all have like separate backends. Like you can have like the GPU one, or like this one who runs only on an H100 or H200 that will do your inference for you. So it runs like a local model. So you can rent that for like 2 hours at a time. It's only like $4, and then you can do like 10 million tokens on that or something like that. And so we have it sort of in a way where these kind of like personas are mapped to different backends, because again, a cloud computer is not a single machine. It's sort of like this abstract notion of many machines, and so that's very much the direction we're moving in. Some of that's still in beta, but the whole idea is that it's like it feels like one computer, but it's actually can be 1,000 computers if you need 1,000 computers, or like a special computer. Yeah. Yeah, that was a cool observation. The question is like, is there a snapshot system or sort of like a way to do backups? Yeah, if you look at this, another cool thing about like these cloud computers, you can just snapshot it all day. So I can go back to like 6 p.m. today if I want, and this is a whole system level restore, and it's just something you can't do like on your laptop. So if your agent deletes an important directory, it's just gone on your laptop or even on a VPS. What's cool about this is really efficient to kind of roll back.
Cool. I think we'll save other questions
Great.
For later. So Rob and the Zo Computer team are here tonight. Let's give a round of applause. Do you want to put up the QR code just for like another 30 minutes? Or sorry, not 30 minutes, 30 seconds. Well, I'll also send out a link as a text blast after the event, so people can refer back to that too. And yeah, the Zo Computer team are here. You can go talk to them. They have a booth right there, and ask them all the questions that you have.
Yeah, we got a bunch of free merch, so you can get a hat or a shirt or a bag.
Yep, and also wanted to thank Zo for sponsoring this event and helping make it possible. Great. All right. Just to get like a pulse on the room, I wanted to find out how long people have been using OpenClaw for. So if you installed OpenClaw this month, could you raise your hand? All right, that's some new users. Let's go. If you installed it in March, last month, could you raise your hand? Okay. February? All right, January? And then before January? All right. That's like before it blew up on the internet. Those are the true OGs. So I guess that goes to show, like, we're all learning how to use the system. I don't think anyone can master OpenClaw or an open source AI agent this powerful in just a few months. And so that's why I wanted to host this event, to help people share their knowledge and share their experience and help us all grow as a community. So, talk to the person to the left of you, to the right of you. From what I've been seeing so far, everyone is really friendly and open to having a conversation. So yeah, thank you all again for coming. I'm going to introduce Roman J. Giorgio. Roman is a founder of Coral OS, which is agent orchestration platform. He has a background in growth engineering, and 2 years ago created Camel AI, which is the first multi-agent system framework. But today, Roman will be talking about how you can use OpenClaw for marketing. Let's give it up for Roman.
Testing? Okay, cool. Okay, cool, yeah. Thank you for the intro. So today the name of the talk is Amplified, Not Fixed, How to Actually Use OpenClaw for Marketing. So a bit of background from me. I was on the founding team of Camel, then did various different automated marketing projects, did 70,000 followers in 8 weeks, did another one where we did 20,000 followers on like a Reddit community, and then after that got in various agent research labs. So what I want to say today is OpenClaw completely runs our marketing 100% on autopilot. You don't have to learn about marketing at all. And I want to kind of say the reality of that statement is kind of a lie. I think you see a lot of things on like X saying, hey, you can completely run your marketing. Hey, you can completely run a business through AI, and that just isn't true. AI can't fill your lack of understanding. So with that sort of premise in mind, what I want to cover in this talk is three main things. I want to go over the core mental model of how to think about these systems. Then I want to go over my stack, like how I'm running it, and sort of go over a few different examples. Then just kind of look at like what's next. Where is GTM and the future of marketing actually going? So first, let's go over the core mental models. So one thing I want to go over before I kind of get over this at this point is I find vibe coding and vibe marketing to be very, very similar. So it's like you can feel really productive and kind of do some things that feel like they're good, but if you don't really know the fundamentals, you don't really know how it works under the hood, you're just going to end up like with a really super bloated project that really doesn't do anything but spend tokens. So with that out of the way, let's go down a little bit more granular and kind of think about the different types of agents. So there are kind of two core types, which I kind of like to think of as bounded agents and unbounded agents. So the agents we're talking about today are OpenClaws. They're kind of very persistent. They run on like large tasks over like a large amount of time. They can run like different code and do different things. Bounded agents are more like the more traditional LangChain, if anyone knows Camel, Mastra, things like that, where they've got very defined goals and they kind of live and die in sessions in a lot of use cases. This will be important later where I kind of go over how you can use them together in the best way. I think everyone's talked about this today, so I'm not going to go over it too much. But with the unbounded agents, there is a lot more risk. And what I do with everything I do with OpenClaw is set it up in a virtual machine, don't connect it to any of my accounts, give it completely new everything. So let's go over my stack. Cool. So in this stack demo, we're going to go over three different use cases. We're going to go over outreach, content, and research. And the goal for these three things is yes, I'm going to show you the use cases, but I kind of want to teach you one thing along the way. In the first one, we're going to look at like data hygiene, like how we can connect this to a CRM and make sure it's working really good. Then from that CRM, we're going to look, okay, how can we make like en masse, personalized, high quality content that isn't slop. And then the third one is going to be how can we bring in these bounded agents when we need to bring them in. Cool. So yeah. So first things first. I'm going to show you a lot of things, but I'm just going to assume you know how to set up the API keys, connect them to the claw. I'm sure there's a lot of YouTube videos on that as well, just because I don't want to leak anything here. But I think the first thing you got to kind of think about is when you're trying to connect a claw to these kind of like marketing GTM systems, is you're going to want to connect it to a CRM. Some people might use HubSpot, some people might use Salesforce. I think they're personally quite bloated, and I don't know, I don't see the value in them for these kind of things, but I'm sure there are some things which I just don't know about. To keep it simple, I like to use Notion, because I use Notion personally anyway, so anything my claw does, I can just check in with it. But there's one thing to keep in mind. We don't want to give the claw access to the whole Notion. We want to assume anything the claw has access to, it's going to leak. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a connection. I'm going to manage the page access. I'm not going to actually go through my pages. But the cool thing about Notion, is you can actually select the pages that it has access to. So for example, I set up this page here, or I just say Claw Notion space. So my Claw has access to this. It doesn't have access to anything else in the Notion. And then for my personal stuff, I can reference this and sort of link it to other pages when I'm showing it to external people. So now we've got a little bit of an understanding of the CRM setup. The next thing is we're going to look at, okay, how can we actually fill in this data? How can we do like prospecting, stuff like that? So there's two good waves that I've been finding that have been good for it. So there's Appify. So this is like a scraping platform. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with them. And this is like, you can scrape anything. Like I could scrape people's TikToks, Google Maps, Instagram, like anything you can think of on the internet can be scraped from Appify. If you're doing more of like sales outreach and you want to like find people on like LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, I'd say Apollo is pretty good for this use case. There's also Disco and a few other services, but I think Apollo is pretty easy. And the idea here is the same thing, like depending on what you want to go for, you're just going to get your API key, connect it to the Claw. And then for my setup, so I've got like my channel, let's go to market, and there's a few different instances of clause. So the main reason I'm segmenting it like this is to save context. And like when you get to more like a high-level agent orchestration, you build multi-agent systems, you kind of work with clause and like even like AI coding, you understand like context is like a really important aspect of it. If you start to get too many roles and responsibilities and functions inside one agent or one session, it's going to start not working very well. So I think it's really important to separate everything from responsibilities. So this is the LinkedIn outreach one. So for example, I'll just say, hey, can you find 3 CEOs in NYC with under 10 people? Let's say I'm trying to sell to startups. I want to go to like small teams, kind of work with them, then add that to my CRM. So you can kind of see from that, you can kind of see from that, it's working with my Notion to actually add this data. The internet's been a bit slow today, so I don't know if it's going to do it instantly. But you can see it's finding people using Apollo, and it's filling them all out here. So then from here, if you want to do like cold outreach, you want to email people, another good tool you can do for like if you want to go like a little bit complex with the automation is you could feed it directly into something called Instify, where you could buy like pre-warmed up accounts, which are going to automatically do outreach and kind of A to B test it to various people. But I'm not going to go over that. I'm going to keep it simple. I'm just going to say, hey, we're going to outreach to them on LinkedIn. So that's the sort of first setup I wanted to go over, is like how you actually set it up with the CRM. The next step is I'm going to go over, instead of doing outreach, how are we going to do actual marketing? How are we going to do content marketing? So an example might be is Omar put on this event. I really like this event. I want to post about it on LinkedIn. I want everyone to post about it to sort of say to talk about their talks. So I could build up this CRM of all these people, have their data in here. I could go to my content thing, and you can kind of see my generation before. Oh yeah, there it is. You can see my generation beforehand because it might take a while. I can upload the CRM, and I've preloaded a sort of template of what it's gonna work with. And again, it's going to take a while, so I'm going to just show you the output. But as you can see, it goes through the CRM step by step. It makes personalized content for every single person. So you can kind of see how this could be used for like outbound, like marketing, various different functions. The next thing after that is I'm going to go over something a little bit more complex. So if you're a developer, or if you're experienced in building multi-agent systems, or if you just want to learn, another thing we can do is we can start to bring bounded agents into this. And the use case of bringing bounded agents into this is you can start to build multi-agent systems that the Claw could call upon. So a good reason for doing this is a multi-agent system like this, which is bounded, it's very reliable, right? You know exactly how it's going to work. You could fine tune it on certain things. You could test it. You can make sure, okay, every time it hits this bounded multi-agent system, it runs the same way every time. So I'm using CoreOS for this. You can have some templates. And then, for example, you could load various agents that you built from other people. You could put them into groups, for example. You can make the session as big as you like. But let's say, for example, like, hey, I find this UI confusing. I don't want to think about it. Again, I can just connect it to the Claw, and the Claw can just do the running for me. And this is like a pretty good rule of thumb for like all software that I found. So if it isn't the Claw, you can use something called Strawberry, which just controls your browser. So like any software or anything you think is too complex, I don't want to understand it, connect it to the Claw, just talk to it in natural language. So this is an example for market research. Like let's say I've got a very particular template of like complex market research. I want to do it every time. In this example, I'm using something called DeepWiki. It's something that can download a code base and kind of have very deep understanding of it. And I'm mixing that with another Firecrawl agent. So what I'm doing is I'm sending it to the Claw. And again, it's going to take a while. So maybe I'll just show you the final. OK, it's not there yet. But when this is done, it's going to show you a populated session of how all the agents are collaborating with each other in this bounded session, and then send you back something that is super, super robust. Cool, so that's kind of it for the demo so far. I'm going to finish on a few sort of closing remarks of where I see this going. What's next? I think everyone's seeing some pretty cool marketing use cases, growth use cases, but I feel like in this moment of time, to do well with these kind of automations and to do well with these kind of things, it's very much a augmentation versus a full automation. I really recommend don't trying to fully automate things on first try. Go through the process and kind of workflow it and test it works before you make the upfront commitment to fully automate it. Because there's just a lot of things that can't be fully automated at the moment, and you kind of have to like test and kind of feel out what are the things AI are good at. But the big caveat is I'm going to show you on this graph, things are very changing really fast. Like this is from METR, and the length of what AI can do is doubling every 7 months, right? So the things they could do even from the start of the year is very different. So you've always got to be feeling out to see, okay, what can be automated now? What can change now? Like things are changing fast, and I don't think it's going to stop. Another point is distribution is becoming an engineering problem. I don't think anyone who runs a small business, or unless you've really got like a tight sales funnel and it's very you're doing events, but I think like most distribution is becoming engineering, and you can see this from all the big companies. But yeah, this isn't to say I think AI is gonna completely take over a lot of things soon. I truly believe marketing is kind of infinite. You can always post more content. You can always do more channels. And the sort of nature of marketing is one brand will do something, another brand will do something, and then the sort of trend just kind of disappears. So it's kind of this infinite game. So thank you. I study GTM systems, so you don't have to. I'm going to start posting on LinkedIn more for GTM, so feel free to follow me there or connect with me if you want to talk anything about GTM engineering. I have a landing page as well for the skill for bounded agents that I talked about before. Thanks. Does anyone have any questions? Sure.
So in regards to the content agent, like how content savvy is it in regards to the context of the thing you're marketing, or is that up to you to set up in your own agent?
Yeah, no, it's super custom. So you can define templates if you want to have a very defined outcome. You want to fit a very defined output of the content. But there's another thing you can do where you can upload it to like a brand graph, and you can kind of have it figure out what your brand might look like. That's kind of more flexible. And like if you want to go that approach, you're going to have to test it more. But if you want something really defined, I'd say just show it an example of the output, and then it's going to work really well.
Okay, and let's say I have 3 templates I want to use. Can I set up the agent so it tests them and understands like, oh, template B is better than template A because of X, Y, and Z?
Yeah. I haven't implemented that yet, but the next thing I want to do, I'm not sure if you've heard of auto research. So it's kind of a project by Kapafi where you kind of have a baseline of results. So it's like, for example, we have 3 pieces of content. One of them got 100 views, one of them got 50, and another one got 50. So I'm going to reference the one that got 100, and then I'm going to keep pushing out content, and then I'm going to keep referencing only the one that has my KPI. But yeah, like I'm going to be posting like a blog on that pretty soon.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Any more questions? If not, I can. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Roman. That was a really insightful presentation. As a developer, I'm not usually working with GTM, so it's cool to see how agentic GTM works. All right. So I think we have one more presentation for tonight. I'm going to introduce Adwait Parker. Adwait is a founder, has a background in research in academia, and has in the past worked on AI deployment consulting. Currently, he works running product in healthcare tech and is also working on OpenClaw, which is a customized deployment of OpenClaw. Adwait and OpenClaw also sponsored this event, so big thank you for helping make this happen.
Hello. All right. So, what's up?
So we just need to choose to mirror.
How do you do that?
Go there. Yep. And choose the content. Entire screen. Entire screen.
I can choose this mirror.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine.
Does that work? Yep. Awesome. So, a little bit background here. So I kind of fell into this just doing my own research, playing with it, and a lot of people were asking for setups. A lot of people are interested in just the idea and the promise of what this can offer, and started kind of productizing it. So today I'm just going to walk through some stories from users explaining why people are interested in it and kind of what they're looking for. And I think the answer is it's not very clear what exactly this amounts to. So but I think we're all here because something is happening out there. You've got a motorcycle owner in Massachusetts and a venture capitalist in Manhattan are both debugging at 3 a.m. Speaking to a music brand manager in Queens who built this really complicated routing system for his Mac Mini. He's got no technical experience whatsoever, but he's up all night. Or I've worked with a political canvasser running around, kind of building his own tools, but really needs help establishing something that's resilient. So I think there's something emerging where people are really excited about something, about we don't know exactly what, and they're willing to dedicate time and money to building this out. I don't have a big theory about exactly what's going on, but we see some patterns in the way people are describing this. So here's a CTO of a big family office saying stuff that I think all of you have said before, which is it works, then it stops working, then you figure something out, and that stops working. So I think we've heard this theme over and over tonight as well. What I've seen is that a lot of people who are trying to install this are real businesses facing real problems of workflow automation, but they're all over the spectrum. So we've got education startups, private equity real estate, finance, investment banking, people in political campaigns, blue-collar workers. And then the list goes on. Every week there are kind of new use cases that I'm hearing about. And so I'll just walk through a couple examples of what people are saying and why they're coming to me. So this tutoring startup in Ireland kind of reached out and they said, Claude Cowork, Claude Code has been a game changer. But there's so many people like me who are locked out because they don't know what's possible. I think you give people these tools, you say, okay, go ahead, use them. And they don't know what to do with it, but they know that there is something out there that they're supposed to be doing. And then in his head, this tutoring operator said, I've got it all mapped out. I know exactly what needs to happen at every step. I just can't do it fast enough. Okay, so I think here is actually relatively unique because he actually has mapped out his workflow very specifically, described it to me very specifically, and I architected a solution using OpenClaw exactly for his use case. What's interesting about this guy is, he's already halfway there with technology, and he sees exactly what it can do for him, which is why he reached out proactively. But I think, like I said, he's kind of a diamond in the rough. Most people out there don't know how to articulate exactly what they're looking for. This guy was interesting. He was based in Brazil. He is very technical. He's the CTO of his startup. And he's basically got 12 brokers out in the field who are texting the same WhatsApp number with updates. So he built an OpenClaw instance to kind of receive those messages. But gateway kept crashing. Handoffs are really difficult between gateway sessions. And though he technically can do it, he just doesn't have time to problem solve, to establish resilient infrastructure. So he tried to, he spent 3 days figuring this out. He stopped putting in the effort, and he brought us in. So kind of another dimension where you've got relatively technical folk who know that this should be easier than it is, and they just don't know how to wing it themselves. The family office was interesting because, of course, they're very concerned about privacy. So he wanted everything to be local. He wanted to scope it out. And this was the CTO of the family office who, again, is quite technical, but he tried to play with it himself, and it kept breaking. So he brought me in to kind of help counsel him as to what is the best structure that we can put in to make this work and to keep everything local and private. So here it's a question of what is the hardware we get, what are the models we run locally, how do we store our data, and then how do we use those local models for the particular use cases that they've got. The investment banker was, actually I was just installing for him last night, and we ran into that bug that Omar ran into while he was doing the onboarding. So it took much longer than we were intending. But here's a guy who, very disciplined, rigorous in his thinking, but he's surrounded by all of these applications, all of these data sources, and he kind of just wants one single store of information, one assistant, we can call it, to thread the pieces together. So he wants to be able to text it, stores he walks by, workout routines, anything that's on his mind, and then kind of have it organize according to the skills that we build out for him. Political canvasser was, he had this very complicated workflow where you've got field agents running around trying to knock on doors and then reporting back with all sorts of data. So text messages, photos, emails, maybe links to news articles, and then his job was to combine all these together at the end of the week to send out a well-constructed report to the Democratic Party to understand exactly how things were going. And so we built for him a bunch of skills that stitched together exactly what he was looking for in this end-of-week memo. But then he emails me after it was installed, and he says, hey, Edward, things are going pretty well, actually. I've got a news briefing service, that's what we installed, that's incredible, and a cartographer who analyzes data and produces maps. Once you get rolling on this thing, it's pretty incredible what it can do. So, we had a pretty scoped install, and then he starts playing with it, discovering new use cases that he himself can build into it by replicating some of the skills. So here, expansion opportunities for the main user. I like this Night Owl a lot. So he's a music and brand partnerships guy out of Queens. He's got a young daughter, and he's just sitting up all night trying to crack this nut, basically. So he's got his terminal open. I got my email, everything. I bought this computer for OpenClaw. I was able to get everything actually working and connected. They make it look easy in the YouTube videos. I was sitting here till 8 a.m. last night, and I only quit because it deleted everything. And I cursed GPT out, and I was like, I gotta go to sleep. And I woke up, and I'm back here again. So he needed my help to just sit down with him and walk through it, explain why things were going wrong, and then build a system where it doesn't keep crashing. But the point is, here's someone, again, who's not technical, who's looking at something that he knows is powerful, and it keeps failing, and he's just addicted to trying to get it right. So I think there's something there as well where there's almost like a gamification going on, where people are kind of sitting at the computer as if they're playing a video game, trying to get this thing working consistently. And I think I succumb to that as well. This guy who owns this motorcycle shop in Massachusetts was incredibly energetic when he reached out to me. He actually missed our first 2 appointments for various reasons. We got together on the 3rd one. He was so excited about this. He has no technical background whatsoever, but he read about it in January. And he's like, I want to be ahead of the curve. He says, this is going to change everything. I haven't had that feeling since the Apple iPhone. And I'm not a computer person. I can use a computer. I just don't want to do something stupid, so he's worried about making a mistake. But he, again, also feels like this is something he has to get a handle of, because otherwise he's going to be left behind for some reason. There's a FOMO aspect to it as well. So in all these, I think you've got like a wide variety of voices from the field where folks are kind of at all ends of the spectrum, technical or non-technical. And there are some patterns that emerge. So let me just read a couple here. So here's a cloud engineer from San Diego who kind of hit me up because he saw that I had some technical solution to model architecture, and he was running NanoClaw, and he wanted some system to route model fallbacks across his NanoClaw instances. So he says, I could spin up multiple agents on one server, but I need them not to blow the budget if I scale to 10. So here, really technical questions about how he can scale an operations that he's already got going. And another CTO is, how far can we actually take this? Can it literally do what a developer does? I keep asking myself that. So he came to me asking, can we get this thing to actually work like the entire DevOps cycle, all the way through commit, and then just let it run? And I actually didn't know what to tell him because, theoretically you can do that, but setting it up and having it run proactively and continuously is actually, I think, an architectural challenge that, if this were solved off the shelf, I think someone would be selling it already. So, okay, so what am I taking from all this? Why should you care? And so on. I think the pattern is they want something that actually works. So I think everyone here probably wants something that actually works. They're spending their own hours debugging infrastructure instead of running their business. So even the CTOs don't think that this is like a worthy challenge for them. They think it should just work out of the box, and they can just focus on the technology that matters for them. context really matters. So you've got this tutor in Dublin, you've got this family office in Houston, you've got these brokers in Brazil, motorcycle shop in Massachusetts. They all have different workflows that they're dealing with. And if you just have this out-of-the-box OpenClaw installed, it's like OpenClaw Go, run my business, obviously it's not going to work. That's obvious, but following that inside out, I think is what I learned working with a lot of different people, is that hyper-customization is the thing that sells. That's where you really deliver the value. And finally, trust. So they need to control the output. They need to know exactly what to expect coming from it. And too often, of course, LLMs are like the interpreters in chief. They don't do the thing you're asking them to do. They kind of bring it in whichever direction they're feeling in that moment. And also, you switch models, and then it does something quite different right away. OK, so this is kind of me gearing up to like, what exactly does your Claw do? What I think we do is two things done well. We offer resilient infrastructure, so various things like routing, fallback chains, approval gates, monitoring. And again, I came across all of this just by playing and breaking my system over the course of months, finding ways of stitching it back together and making it resilient. And then customization, as I mentioned. So every workflow, I think, needs an agent. And the trick is defining the workflow precisely enough that the agent can execute it. And I think that's the real work. When I sit down with a client, it's identifying which workflows determine what system is worth building for them. OK, so what does this look like? Well, I sit down with them. We have an introductory call, 15 minutes, 30 minutes. I go back, kind of puzzle over this, architect it out, go back and forth with my OpenClaw. And then I translate all of that into more deterministic methods that kind of force the LLM into a certain lane. And then I translate all of that back into OpenClaw, the language of OpenClaw, which is mainly skills, and then gateway configurations. And then test it out with them. I go back and forth with the client to see, hey, does this look right to you? Learn about their business. Then they start articulating exactly what these pain points are for them. Yes, that's the way of describing it. No, that's not what I'd like to do. And then we deploy it and test it. So I know anyone can make these diagrams, and I'm not trying to, but this is exactly what it looks like actually concretely, where I'm like, all right, is this the workflow that you'd like to build? What are exactly the data types that we need to establish during every handoff? What are the typed pipes or connections between the data types that we need to program? And then so once we establish that kind of deterministic connection between these different nodes, then you translate it back into what I'm calling like the language of OpenClaw. And it kind of works well. It just works. And I know that it's kind of hard to land upon a system that works consistently, and I'm not claiming that I've kind of cracked the code here. But if you sit down and really map it out and take the time to spell out exactly what the output should be and what the intermediate steps are, it's a very powerful instrument, the gateway. All right, I'll skip over this slide. I kind of went over this method. But I want to get into kind of what I built over this course of engineering and tinkering. So developed a system of heartbeats for heartbeats, where OpenClaw comes with these built-in heartbeats that are supposed to wake up your agent at a regular basis. Well, the problem is there's a couple of problems with them. They're not deterministic enough. They're not reliable enough. Sometimes they go to the wrong model. So you kind of need a layer that guides the heartbeat itself, a heartbeat for the heartbeat that's established within the shell itself. Second, model cascade. So you want to make sure that models degrade and fail gracefully, and that you're not stuck kind of manually editing your configuration file. Encoding logic into the way the main orchestrator routes tasks and falls back to different models, and checks provider status, super important. Grounded search, not something new, but in having this as the basis of the orchestration layer turns out to be quite important. Skills are not deterministic, but I've figured out a way to make them more deterministic so that it's not just judgment or opinion of the LLM. They're actually doing the thing you want them to do. Nested harness, so the harness within the harness is really cool. So here you can use OpenClaw to control Claude code or codecs. And this is actually a way I think you can still use your Anthropic subscription via OpenClaw, where your main orchestrator agent within OpenClaw creates a session within Claude Code or codecs and kind of just controls it for you, and then uses that runtime, feeds back the outputs. Okay, so all of this combined, all these infrastructural things get you what I am attempting to develop is like the swarm operating model, where you've got a bunch of like sub-agents that are working closely together in like pods, agile pods, which are self-configuring and oriented towards a certain product task. They have periodic reviews of their work as if they're working in a business. But instead of having quarterly business reviews, they have hourly business reviews. Improve upon that, and then continue. So I'm really interested in really pushing this to the limit. How many sub-agents can you get going in one OpenClaw instance and have it stable? All right, so all my customers, obviously, they keep their data, their hardware, their IP, their expertise. All I'm doing is just really enabling them. And so when I sell this product to them, this custom install, it's not a subscription service. It's really just handing them a piece of software that they can choose to maintain with me or not, or maintain it themselves. But it really is like a repeatable tool that they now own, and that they can expand or rescope as they want to. So the premise I started with is that something is happening, and again, I don't know exactly what it is, and I don't think most people who want to use OpenClaw know exactly what it is, but they're all very excited, and I'm happy to meet them where they are and map out these workflows. So if you're interested in just talking, it doesn't have to be an install, take the QR code, you can book a meeting with me, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever you want. Happy to talk to anyone kind of working in the space, thinking about this stuff, partners, or if you just want to kind of have a sounding board for things you're working on. All right, thanks.
Thank you, Edwait. If anyone has questions, I'll bring the mic over. It was such a good presentation that there was no confusion at the end. Okay, so yeah. Oh, we have one question? All right.
I couldn't hear you at all, I'm sorry.
Are you finding that people are interested in local models so much so that they're willing to actually pay for the hardware to run it? For privacy and stuff?
Yeah, a few people, I think so. It's not that I don't recommend it, but there are some people who are super privacy conscious. And also, there's a whole movement around like platform risk and de-risking dependence on providers who are, fickle. And so this notion of, I think it maps actually cleanly to like the survivalist movement, where people really just want to keep everything in their own control.
Great stuff, but how do you scale? There's only one person. How do you scale? Eventually, a lot of people would need this, but how do you scale?
At the moment, I'm enjoying working with people one-on-one, and I do spend too much time developing their customizations, and so at the moment I cannot scale. But of course, the answer is always, I'm gonna point my bot to what I developed and say, build a skill or a method out of what I've just done over the last 20, 40 clients. And then when I give you the transcript of the meeting with them, just develop the entire architecture as needed.
The point I'm trying to say is that you are going to be like a management consultant, like a PwC, a McKinsey and stuff. So eventually you need bodies, or eventually how do you think you're going to scale?
You're pushing me to explain how I will scale. Like I said, I didn't get into this to scale. I got into this because I was just genuinely interested in the infrastructure, and it turns out that there's a market for it. Now, if you were to put a gun to my head and say, how are you going to scale? It's hiring devs, creating methods or skills out of my process, still having the one-on-one calls, but really like making sure that the skills listen to the inputs from the users. I think it's doable. I haven't dedicated any energy to it yet.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Through all the sort of different clients that you worked with and your own journey of becoming an OpenClaw expert or an OpenClaw consultant, what would you say are your best resources for learning more deeply about OpenClaw, its capabilities, and how to configure it for your own setup? Like, what are the sort of self-serve resources that people can go to?
So I think there's no training like trying and failing and breaking the system and digging deep into understanding why it broke and trying to fix it, which is how I did, But I understand that most people don't have the time for that. The best resource is your bot. Just talk to your bot. Learn that way. If you don't have a bot, talk to any chat bot online. And I think people are realizing that is the best resource these days. To the point made earlier, AI is very good at using computers.
One more question.
Thank you for the presentation. I guess I have a question about, since you're having clients from different industries and business, I'm wondering, how do you do this? Like, how do you understand your clients, or do they always come with a specific question, or how this process would look like to you? Would you use OpenClaw to do the client research, or how this understanding builds mutually?
Yeah, so definitely I do use AI to help me, of course, but I think I'm a good listener. So I listen to the way they describe what they do. And I think, so if you're a good listener, you can also do this. I don't think it's not a technical achievement. I think it's just a human thing.
All right. Oh, did you have a follow-up? Shout it out, or come here. Yeah.
I guess, so I also have this question about, let's say you build a OpenClaw workflow or an infrastructure for your clients. How would you usually maintain it? You just said you'd be able to troubleshoot for them, or they can always troubleshoot themselves. So how this portion of you were helping with the afterwards maintenance, or the clients would be able to fix themselves, would you give them the freedom to do that as well?
Yeah, so we have care plans like Apple Care, so you can call us up if things break. But what goes a long way is locking your configuration file. Do not let your agent edit your configuration file. That solves 90% of problems.
So you would have like a manual for them?
Yeah, I give a manual to all my clients.
Okay, got it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. Let's give a big thank you to Adway. That was such a good look at the ways in which all different kinds of folks are using OpenClaw and in ways that you might not expect or have thought of. That is the end of the programming for tonight. Had such a wonderful lineup of speakers. Really grateful for their time and energy, and for the sponsors, which are ZeroComputer and OpenClaw. Feel free to talk to them. You know, they're here to help you solve your problems, whatever shape they might come in. If you want to follow this event series and come to future ones, you can follow this Luma calendar, luma.com/OpenClawNYC. luma.com/OpenClawNYC. We're going to try to do these every month. We haven't set a date yet for next month's, but we're gonna work that out. And if you're interested in other community events, at ZeroSpace, you know, we also do a lot of work with image and video generation. If you've heard of a tool called Comfy UI, we host monthly Comfy UI events. If you're a creative technologist or you like creating live visuals, or if that's something you're interested in getting into, we also hold a monthly event series around Touch Designer. It's a really cool piece of software that feels like you're working with a real-time visual canvas. So I'm just going to plug those two. They're set up much like this, and we also incorporate live performances and live demos into them. And you know, we always have food and drink, and it's always an amazing atmosphere. If you want to hang out and chat, we're going to keep the studio open for another 20 minutes or so, and then we usually go to a brewery down the street. It's called Three's Brewery. That's where people can hang out. They're open till midnight. We are not open till midnight. Our staff need to go home. So after about 20 or 30 minutes, we're going to have people start to sort of flow out of here and into Three's. It's only a block away. They're great. They have tons of beers on tap. And also, please help finish the stuff we have here as well. All right, I want to give a huge thank you to everyone for coming. Give yourselves a round of applause for showing up. I hope everyone here learned something, and I hope to see you again soon. Any closing remarks, Omar?
Yeah, I want to say a big thank you to Shuilong. This would not have happened without him. I came here last month. I was lost. I had this event planned, but I didn't have any venue, any idea of what to do. I just know that people wanted to know about OpenClaw, so I made the event, and Shuilong made it happen. So please, everybody, please give him a round of applause. Thank you. Also, everybody that signed up for this event, if you notice, I had a field where you ask questions. So for future events, my plan is to go over those questions and see which ones are very prominent and try to answer those questions. So in the beginning, I'll do my weird presentation trying to answer those questions, and then we'll have other speakers as well. Also, I think Shuilong forgot to mention that the Comfy UI event is happening this Friday, right?
Next Friday.
Oh, next Friday. Next Friday is when the Comfy UI event. So you guys can come through. That was the first event I came to when I met the community here, and it was super friendly, super friendly.
Thank you, Omar, as well, for helping put this together and for having the idea and helping spread the word and reaching out to people to speak. If you want to speak at the next one, we do have a sign-up form for presenters. It's on the Luma page. I think it's right below the speaker list. So it's just a Notion form. You can write down whatever the idea is, and if we find it useful to add to the following event, we'll reach out to you. And I also forgot to mention the ZeroSpace event calendar. So I mentioned OpenClaw NYC. luma.com/OpenClawNYC. There's also luma.com/ZeroSpace. And that's where you can find all the events that happen here across all these different fields. So yeah, I think that's actually it. All right, great. Cool. Have a good night, everybody.